Joining us now, he's in his sixth season as head coach at Virginia Tech, fresh off their fourth straight NCAA tournament appearance in a regional final. I speak of our good friend Pete Demore joining us here on the Circle. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. And I'm looking at my the first time I see myself on Zoom. I need a shave.
Well, you're a father. I mean, do you have time? You're a coach, a father. It's a lot of stuff, obligations you got.
Yeah, always busy. But it's better than not being busy.
That's a good point. Let's start with last year. You got to that regional final in Athens. Uh, when you look back at last year, and you had time to reflect in the offseason, I remember I talked to you right after that regional. What comes to mind that from last year that you want to imply to this year?
Well, I think the first thing about last year was, we made it to regionals, made it to Sunday and regionals, and it felt like it was a down year for us. And that kind of speaks to where the program is right now. Is you get to Sunday at regional and you don't win it, you feel like you didn't accomplish any goals. And it's kind of what we felt like last year. And this year was what do we need to do to win a game on Sunday and at regionals and then make it to hopefully to Oklahoma City. So just going into this year, I think we're going to be able to hit, we're going to be able to defend, and I think the pitching will be improved. So if you do all three of those, it's you're more likely to succeed, I guess.
You've got a lot of new faces, 12 new faces, 9 freshmen, and 3 transfers. Just talk about blending in all those new faces with the returners that you have coming back.
Yeah, that was the big point of focus for me in the summer was you essentially have two teams, newbies and returners, and how are we going to mesh those two teams together to be one? And I got to give a lot of credit to our returners. It really hasn't felt like there has been any divide on our team. It's almost like it's been since I've been here is once practice starts, returners, this is the way we do things, and it was really easy to mesh the two components together, and so we really haven't skipped a beat. Everybody's moving in the same direction, and it's been good. But I do have to give credit to not just the seniors; they did an awesome job, but even the sophomores and juniors, they've just been they did what's expected of them.
Last year, the program hit, as a team, you hit 100 home runs, a program record. When you look at this offense this year, what do you believe is the identity? Is it similar to last year with the home run? What do you envision? Because you do list some personnel, some leaders, some veterans, some player winners type players like a Kelsey Bennett's of the world, etc. from that offense. So what do you see as the identity for the offense?
Yeah, similar. We're going to swing hard. We're going to try to get the ball in the air. Hopefully, not strike out a lot. Like to increase our walks a little bit more this year. We have a lot of team speed, 1 through 9. 1 through 15, really. So we can steal some bases. We're well-rounded, but I like the ability to score runs with one swing of the bat. And, it's not end-all, be-all. We got to hit home runs. And I never really preach home runs. But, when you can face upper-tier pitching and you have a chance to score a run with one swing, that's kind of what we try to do.
Among the returners, you got Bree Peck, Cameron Fagan, you got Emma Ritter, all ACC performers on the offensive end and defensively, for that matter, because all of them bring defensive aspect to it. Just talk about their growth, and do you have established leaders at this point?
Yeah, I don't know if it's established. We have 5 kids that are voted on that are quote unquote our leadership council, but I think you're comfortable with anybody on your team being a leader, which I am. I mean, all of our kids, they know what's expected of them. They work hard, they're accountable. But yeah, you talk about Peck, Fagan, and Ritter. They just what they've done this year, especially in the fall, as compared to when they first got here. Good grades, stay out of trouble, work hard. You just never have to worry about our kids, and that goes back to the 12 to 15 kids that we brought in. They see the leaders that have been here, and they know what's expected of them. So it's just kind of lead by example.
Who are some new faces you expect to contribute on the offensive side?
Well, I think the first one that stands out is Corey McMillan, transfer from Radford. Kid's a 5-tool player and leads the team in bat speed. She's got one of the strongest arms we have, one of the fastest kids we have. has had meaningful at bats the last 2 years. I mean, she's played a lot of games so far the first 2 years, and so I look to her to be a contributor right away. We have a lot of freshmen. I'll probably forget some of them. Michelle Chatfield is one that stand out. Kid from Northern Virginia, utility player. Emily Legette's a left-handed hitter, first baseman from Miami. She swung the bat well. Ani Rose is a shortstop that plays hard, good defender, really pesky, but she's a good player. Lila Blackwell is a high school All-American outfielder. Zoe Yeager, Emma Mazzarone. Yeah, we have some talented new kids.
Pitching, obviously Emma Lemley, you're led by her. You've got obviously Lindsey Grind. Just talk about your pitching. I know you mentioned earlier you feel pretty good about your pitching being improved. Talk about your staff.
Yeah, we have some depth this year, which I think we lacked a little bit last year. I mean, we had 3 pitchers, but similar looks, and I think the exciting thing for me this year is we got 2 lefties that are different than what the right-handers bring to our staff. And so we got Cassie Grizzard's a left-handed pitcher that transferred from Louisville. She's been really, really impressive this fall. Locates well, 63, 66, but plus changeup, one of the best changeups I've ever coached. So she has the ability to get left-handed hitters out. And so when you're pitching against our lineup in practice and you're facing our left-handers, she can get them out, and that's saying something. And another kid, Emma Mazzarone, like I talked about a little bit ago, she's a power pitcher. I mean, she can hit 70, left-handed, competes, and just like I said, another look. She's left-handed, So, yeah, I like how our staff is shaping up.
And that was by design, right? Giving those different looks. Because I remember we spoke in that region on that final press conference, and you said that was one of your goals, was to find more variety in your pitching staff. That like you mentioned, you had too much similarities. You think that might have caught up with you. Not to mention, you didn't have the depth that you now feel. It sounds like you feel you have now. How do you kind of plan for that, where you're looking for different pitchers, but not only that, you're looking for different pitchers that throw different stuff?
Yeah, it's a process for sure. And I don't know that it's an exact science. We had Emma coming in, Maz, so she was one of our recruits. But when Cassie came on the market, I had seen her in high school, and she's left-handed, and I saw her on video. She has got good stuff, and we thought we could make her better. And just like I said, it's something we didn't have last year. It was a left-hander, and I don't say crafty. She's not crafty, but just a different look. I mean, you look at Lemley and Grind, they're power pitchers, from right-handed standpoint, and get a lefty in here that throws a little bit different. Just you don't know how to prepare as a hitting coach.
How has Emma looked this fall as ready? She's a veteran. I mean, it's hard to believe. It seemed like yesterday I saw her alive in person when she was just a freshman, right behind Keely Richard, and here she are now a couple years ago. Now later as the face of the staff.
Yeah, she's her velocity's back. She's upper 60s again. She's spinning the ball well. She's got a couple different looks as far as pitches she's throwing. More confident in her change, more confident in her drop. She's got a slow rise now. So it's not just here 68 rise, try to hit it. There's more well-roundedness to her, which I'm excited to see. But the big one was, can she get back to upper 60s? And she did.
Got some new faces on your staff, including Josh Johnson coming over to take over the pitching staff. You got Mata coming in that you brought in. First of all, you have an expanded staff, as most everybody in softball does, with the extra full-time assistant. How has that changed as a coaching staff, having that extra bodies, if you will, full-time versus just having a volunteer?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Those guys are here every day and working hard. And, Josh he's brought some structure to our bullpen and, different look. And I always say that whenever you have a new coach, it's just a different set of eyes, a different perspective on what they're bringing and what they've seen in their past experience. And he's definitely brought that. And he's meshing well with our pitchers. And like I said, any kid, they just want to see themselves getting better. And I think if you asked any of our pitchers, they would say that they've noticeably have gotten better and improved this fall. And the thing with Memo is he's here all the time. He can hit, he can pitch, he's bringing a championship mindset to our program. I mean, he won the world championships in 2019 and won the ISC in I think 21, 22, and yeah, he just has a perspective of a winning culture. So we're pleased with both of those additions. And I would say adding Megan White as our director of analytics has been just incredible for us. What she brings as far as scouting and player development has really elevated our program.
How long have you used analytics? When did you first get introduced to analytics in the game? Because now
Yeah,
it's prevalent now, but I'm curious from your career, when did you first kind of get exposed to it, and obviously have used it?
yeah. I think last year was eye opening to me. There was a couple instances where we played and other teams were doing shifts or pitching rotations and all those kind of things that I'd always been interested in, but we just didn't really have the power to do it. And so I've always been interested in it. I just haven't had the infrastructure to do it. And so I think we've always been. Well, I have tried to be as progressive as possible. As you know, I don't want to coach this year like I did 5 years ago. I want to have wrinkles and what's the newest, up to date aspects of coaching that can help you win. And I just think the analytical part, you don't want to get bogged down into it too much, but at the same time, it helps you win games. So I think this year is the first year I'm actually heavy into it. In years past, it's been kind of inching our way into what we're doing this year. And so yeah, it hasn't been extremely heavy into analytics since I've been here, but I feel like it's going to be this year.
With the new faces that you brought up on your staff, how much do you adapt to your style? Do you delegate more? Does that talk about that adjustment? And then, we always talk about team chemistry and the players, but that also applies to the coaching staff.
Right, right. And I'm kind of, my management style, I guess you'd say, is I bring good coaches in and let them do their jobs. And so when Mike Lewis came in, I said, hey, you got the defense, go do it. And so the same kind of thing with Josh and Memu and Megan. This is what I want. Go do it. And so I'm kind of hands offish in that way. And they're really forward thinking. They're always trying to get better and finding new ways to do things. And so yeah, it's always that's kind of just how I've always done things. I don't want to micromanage. I don't got the time to do it. And I've got enough when I do the hitting. I've got enough on my plate working with the hitters. But it also goes to when you hire people that you like to be around. And I like to be around everybody that's been here, and all my coaches that I've had, I've liked them being around. So it's not like there's too much of a character conflict here.
When it comes to like someone like Josh, how much do you give him intel about, hey, this is what each pitcher is like? And how much do does he maybe say, no, don't, I want to find out some things with my own eyes? How do you balance that out?
That was kind of a little bit of both. We first got here, and I give him the rundown on where I saw our pitchers, and let him go from there. But the thing with Josh is, before he even got to Blacksburg, I think he had watched multiple hours of film on our kids, so he kind of had an idea of what was going on. So he's done this a long time. He knows what's going on. He knows what he's looking for. So for me to sit there and say you got to do it this way, no, this you just explain how the pitchers have performed in my eyes the past couple of years, and if he sees anything different, just make them better.
Your schedule now, you normally schedule very difficult non-conference, so that's nothing new. That's not like or breaking news.
Yep.
But I still, when I saw your schedule come out, I had to look twice. You're going to open the season at Auburn in a tournament, which includes Illinois in that field and Auburn. You then go to Arizona, where you're going to play with Arizona State and Grand Canyon. They're both kind of co-hosting a tournament. So you're going to be playing both at Tempe and in Phoenix in that tournament. Arizona State, of course, that's the place where you won a regional a few years back. You then go to Athens to play in a tournament with Georgia and Radford, among others. And then you also, by the way, go to Alabama later in the year in March for a 2-game series, Coach. Are you trying to win the SEC? That's my first question. That is an incredible non-conference schedule. All of that I just mentioned on the road.
Yeah. It's if your end goal is to host regionals and supers, your RPI has to reflect that. And so 2 years ago when we hosted supers, we scheduled pretty hard in the preseason. Came out of there with a really good record. Next thing you know, our RPI is number one when the first RPI rankings came out, and so we scheduled similarly last year, and our record wasn't as good as we thought it could have been coming out of those preseason tournaments, but our RPI was still pretty decent. And so I just when you look at scheduling, there's a balancing act with record and all that stuff, but the RPI is where it is right now. And you come out of the first 3 weekends with a decent record, then you're set up pretty well with the RPI. And so, I think in years to come, our league is getting so competitive that maybe you don't schedule as tough because the league gives you those RPI games. But I feel like the league is tough. So maybe I schedule a little too tough, but it's what it is. We're not here to not play hard teams.
Well, and you're not one that you just like playing. Like you don't get caught up in minutia and hey, we should do this and that. Like a lot of coaches, would say, well, I'm not only going to play you if you come to my place and things like that. You're not that way. You've played almost everybody all over the country. Where did that philosophy come from? Of hey, I just want to play games. I want to play the best.
Yeah, I think the first thing that's tough for us is getting teams to come to Blacksburg in the first place. And when you have the first 3 weeks of the year, and Blacksburg could be 60 degrees and it could be negative 100. You just never know. And so our hand is somewhat forced. We have to go out and play. And so yeah, it's why let's just go play good teams. Let's see where we are. And that's the whole thing is you go test yourself against good teams, you know what you need to work on. And so yeah, it's just evolved that way. And first couple of years here, we didn't schedule as tough, but kind of feel like we have the team to do it now.
You mentioned that you may adjust that with obviously the strength of the ACC. It's also getting bigger, literally, with more Cal and Stanford coming down the road. How much do you think that will affect also your scheduling, your non-conference scheduling, as far as you might lose some extra dates? I don't know what the ACC plans are for the models scheduling wise moving forward, but there could be some effects to your non-conference. How much of an impact will that have, if any?
Well, I think the biggest impact for us is flights. We're not, Missouri, when we were there, it was you fly 7, 8, 9 times a year. And here we try to go max of 3. And so if you have 3 flights and one of them is to Stanford, and one's to Tallahassee, and one's to Syracuse, maybe your non-cons are all drivable. So that's kind of where we are now. We're waiting for the schedule at 25 to come out, so we can schedule our non-cons accordingly. But yeah, it really just sets up flight wise for us. Can we fly 3 times max, maybe 4, but it's not like it's an open checkbook and we're flying 10 times. We just can't do that, nor do I want to. I don't like to fly.
Who does? Especially nowadays. I've heard. Would I'm curious because college baseball, there's been a lot of conversation about changing the calendar, pushing, having the season a little further, so more Northeast schools, for example, could get home games and things like that. Is that something you think that softball should consider doing? Is maybe instead of starting in early February, maybe starting later February? Would that help you at all? Maybe get some more home dates?
Oh, I'm sure it would. The thing that people don't realize, and this happened to us a couple years ago, is yeah, if we fly to or drive to, let's just say, Charleston in February, and this happened a couple years ago, we got to drive back, and we're driving through an ice storm. I mean, how safe is that for player well-being? I'm sitting there white knuckled, holding on like the rest of them. And so it's like I think pushing the season back would eliminate some of that stuff, but that's for people in way higher positions than I am.
One thing I noticed from the ACC schedule, you've got Virginia, I believe it a home and home, 2 games. Is that
Right.
what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, that's just a rivalry game for the schools. It's called the Commonwealth Clash, and it's points based and all that kind of stuff. But they're just good games for the state of Virginia. And so we always try to schedule Virginia, whether we play them in conference or not.
Is that something new this year? Because I feel like in the past you would play a 3-game series maybe in the other play, or did I miss that? Where maybe
No, I think a couple years ago when we didn't have UVA in the schedule, we played them home and home. So
okay.
that's just a two game set.
All right, that's cool. No, I mean, listen, that's great, and that's always cool for the state, which is part of the great competition in the state there. A couple other things. There were some rules adjustments over the offseason. There's a 20-second pitch clock that's been pushed. It's been a big narrative, I know, from a lot of coaches in these conventions, et cetera. That's been a big narrative. They modified the illegal pitch there as well. What's your reaction to those moves as they try to speed up the game and then obviously still trying to tweaking things?
Yeah, well, obviously, selfishly, I love the pitch call rule.
Yeah, I figured you would. That's why I had to bring it up. Yes.
Yeah, and that's good for everybody, and it's good for umpires. It's good for just to make everything universal, And as far as the pitch clock, anything that could speed the game up, I'm good with. And so I think the one thing that we need to look at is you can have the 20-second pitch clock, but if the game is 10-9, it's still going to be a 3-hour game. And so I think I don't know that you ever decrease offensive production, but at the same time, I don't know how feasible it is to have to play a 2-hour game when the scores are a lot of runs. So I think that's the next point to look at.
Plus, you have instant replay. There's more things now that you can review, so that also takes time. And I think that's something that people kind of forget when they're like, "Hey, let's speed up the game and let's pick on the pitcher to throw 20 seconds." Well, it's not the reason the game maybe is not going as quick as fast as before. It's not because a pitcher is taking 25 seconds, 30 seconds long. There's a lot of variables within the game that has changed that.
Sure, but I think the 20-second clock is it's a good start.
You like it though. You do like that.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just get the game moving.
How much of that do you even like? Is that something that you all teach with your players? Is that something you adapt to, or is that something that's not even that big of an adjustment from a practice standpoint?
I don't think it's a big thing to work on. If anything, and I've seen our baseball team do this because baseball has the pitch clock. They just throw a timer on the scoreboard during inter squads, and kids get used to it.
Last thing before we let you go, before obviously you'll start the season at Auburn, as I mentioned earlier. What are a couple keys, questions that you're curious about that you only can find out once you play other teams starting in February that you think will be a key factor in the rest of the season?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it comes down to pitching for us. If we can pitch, we'll be okay this year. And if we can't pitch, which I'm not saying we can't, we'll still be all right. We can swing the bat. We're going to score some runs. But the step up with regionals and supers in the World Series is pitching. And you look at all the teams in the World Series, they can pitch. And so I'm looking forward to see the improvement that Josh and the pitchers have made this fall on the mound.
That's Virginia Tech head coach Pete DeMore joining us here on In the Circle. Coach, always a pleasure to talk to. Always enjoy watching your teams play. Your teams are one of the more fun teams to watch and cover from afar. But always appreciate you taking the time talking to us, especially with your schedule, not only coaching the team but being the dad and everything with a 2.5-year-old, which means you don't get sleep. So I totally really appreciate you taking the time to always talk to us.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for all you do for softball.